streaming as we discuss one of the topics that interests the Muslim parents and families that follow us. This meeting actually, or this live meeting, or this live webinar happens every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And for today, inshallah, we are talking about one of the most valuable blessings or ni'mah that Allah have given to us. The ni'mah that a lot of people actually never appreciate or never give attention to. A ni'mah that the Prophet ﷺ said, said a hadith about, as he said, two favors that many of the people scander are health and free time. That's why today, inshallah, we are talking about time, one of the most valuable things that Allah Azza wa Jalla have given to us. And today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about like the significance of time. We're going to talk about the value of time in the Noble Quran. We're talking about the value of time in the Sunnah. We're going to talk about the value of time in the side of Muslim scholars. What should the Muslim do so he can get to like manage his time as he should be? And a lot of other points. And today, inshallah, we're joined with our Imam Husam Ad-Din Alam. Assalamu alaikum, Imam. How are you?
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته شيخ
I
محمد.
hope that everything goes well. Allahumma ameen. And as you know, dear viewers, that Imam Hussein, he's the head of education at Muslim Institution. He's a member of Al Azhar Fatwa Global Center, and he's a lecturer at Faculty of Sharia and Law Al Azhar University. So, Imam, I believe that this is one of the topics that, yeah, like it interests me personally, actually, and I'd like you to give us first like an introduction about this topic and yeah, like as we try to do all the time that we make this webinar or we make this live streaming like really practical so any of our dear viewers can get to apply the points that are mentioned on it and stuff. So yeah, you have the microphone, so please let's get started. Bismillah.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Muhammad. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praises due to Allah, the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy, and blessings be upon with you, upon you, Sheikh Muhammad, and all the Muslimito family, and all our dear respected viewers and listeners from across the globe. Definitely, it's a very vital, significant, and practical topic because it is one that concerns each and every individual. It is not one that pertains only to one group of people or to one segment of the society. Rather, it is a topic that is of a vital significance to each and every human being. Because when we speak of time, we speak of the life of the human being. The significance of today's topic stems from the fact that time is life. Simply put, it has to do with the life of each and every one of us. And this is why it's very important to pause for a second in order to reflect and to think about a very vital and a very powerful saying by Imam al Hassan al Basri, as he has a very beautiful quotation in this regard, as he is reported to have said, O son of Adam. So, speaking about every human being. And then he goes on to say, you are nothing but days put together. So, with the passage of every day, an integral part of your essence is gone. So you can imagine this metaphor here. How is
Mm,
it? The essence of the presence of each and every one of us is time being compiled or put together. And with the passage of every second, a piece of the human being is gone. And this is why also it is worth reflecting that people usually celebrate the passage uh,
of
of
their
years.
birthdays.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they just celebrate like passing a year.
Exactly. So
For a
this is
lot of people, they feel super sad. Oh my God, like I got a new year.
so this
So like already one of the years passed.
I don't mean to feel sad, but what I mean is to think and to reflect that as we are marking one's birthday, actually the individual, or we are marking the passage of an entire year of one's lifetime. So this is an idea to think about, that this means the passage of an entire year of one's life.
Okay, that is like a really important point to talk about and also to mention. And as I said, like for a lot of people, actually, they just like feel, yeah, like a new year, like yeah, time pass, I'm older and stuff. But for other people, say, yeah, a piece of me have
Yes.
like
Yeah.
like is not existed anymore. So they're just like super sad about this and stuff.
Yeah.
Imam Hussein, I believe that every single thing is mentioned, like whether in the Quran or the Sunnah, we have this
Yeah.
direct instruction. As you know, like Allah tell us all the time what to do, what not to do. So, did Allah actually mention the point of time in the Quran, for example?
Yeah. This is a very vital and a very significant question to start with, Sheikh Muhammad, because as you said, the Quran is very vital when it comes to providing a guiding compass when it comes to the life of the human being. And this is why repeatedly anyone who explores the Noble Quran, they would find the very striking, explicit fact that repeatedly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights the importance and the significance of time.
Hmm,
Let me delve more into this, Sheikh Muhammad,
please.
and mention clearly how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran uses and utilizes this style of swearing by time.
Hmm,
And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need to swear by anything. That we, yes, maybe when it comes to us as humans, we need to swear or to take an oath in order to show that we are honest and we are truthful about
hmm,
something. So, speaking of this and explaining this, the Muslim scholars highlighted that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this style of the language in the Noble Quran, it is to direct our attention to the importance of time. And this is a general uh, principle that when
hmm,
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by something in the Noble Quran, it is to incite us and it is to drive our curiosity in order to think about something. So it is to stimulate the intellectual curiosity of the human being. For instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Noble Quran, Wal Asr. And we understand that Al Asr here has numerous meanings, or can have more than one meaning, and one of them is time. So it is by time. And also you have other verses, Wal Fajr, Walayalin Ashr, that's
yeah.
by the
Uh,
day and the 10 nights. So many other places in the Noble Quran highlight this. In another verse,
Swearing
yeah,
like Allah used swearing as a way of glorifying the point itself. Imam,
ex-
can you please explain like what do you mean by swearing by something? Like
yeah,
I'm not quite sure that I totally got this point.
yeah, I totally
Um,
understand.
if you can
And
give
thank you
us
so
like an
much
example or
for,
something.
yeah, so thank you so much for this question, because I'm sure it is on the minds of so many of our viewers as well. So, for instance, when someone is asked to give a testimony. For example, they are asked to make or to take an oath. So they
Yeah.
swear. So for example, they say, "By Allah,
Hmm.
I bear witness that." So this is an indication that they are truthful about what they're
Yeah.
saying. So this is
Yeah.
the idea of the style of taking an oath or swearing. Okay, so
Yeah. So
but again,
everybody picks one of the points that they feel that is like super precious,
mm,
and they make this oath by like using it. For example, by my parents, I will help you in this situation. Is that
correct.
correct?
Yeah, in
So
a
I feel
linguistic
that,
sense.
yeah, I really appreciate and love my parents, and I really glorify them. So I say, my parents, I will do such and such. Is that correct? That's what happens in the real life.
In the linguistic sense, yeah.
Yeah.
We are not talking here about the permissibility of
Yeah.
making an oath or taking an oath by other than Allah.
Sure.
This is
Sure.
not
Sure.
applying to
As a
us.
Muslim,
Yeah,
we just use, yeah,
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we make an oath or take an oath. So this
exactly.
is the linguistic perspective.
Yeah.
So definitely we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most self-sufficient, that He does not need to make an oath. So they said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this style when it comes to the Noble Quran, this is to direct our attention to the importance and to the significance and the perfection of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes to the item that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by. So, in more than one place in the Noble Quran, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this style in terms of time in general, as in wal asr, or certain periods of time, specific periods of time, like wal fajr,
Hmm.
by the dawn. So why is this? This is a question that logically follows. Why is this style employed in the Noble Quran? And the answer is to direct our attention to the importance and the paramount significance of one's time.
Hmm.
And this is why the Prophet ﷺ,
Alayhi salatu
in
wassalam.
authentic hadith, is narrated to have said, the son of Adam or the daughter of Adam, i.e., each and every individual, on the day of judgment, they will not even be able to move their feet on the day of judgment until they are asked about a number of things. And then the Prophet ﷺ pinpoints two things:
Hmm.
the whole lifetime, how did they spend it? And then the Prophet ﷺ specifies more in particular terms and the period of youth. How did the individual utilize it? You see, so it is not only the whole lifetime of the human being. So, yes, the questions will include one's lifetime, and more specifically, or this is another question,
Hmm.
regarding one's youth period or
Yeah.
years of youth or being a youth. How did they spend it and how did he or she utilize it? So
Yeah.
from this, now we can have a clearer understanding, or we can have a better appreciation of, if you like, of the significance of time from an Islamic perspective.
Yeah.
This is why we find numerous statements and sayings from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam highlighting
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
this fact. And of course, we can delve more into this.
Yeah. So this reminds us of the point, which is like way too important, which is like, as a parent, I really need to remind my kids all the time of the importance of uh the age, like the golden age, if you can say, when the kid is a little bit like young. We
Yeah,
need to teach him how to value time as a first point, and also we need to
Yes.
teach him how to deal with life so he makes the best use out of time. Like for a lot of,
Mhm.
a lot of families, for example, they just allow their kids to waste their time on a
Yes.
lot of, I can say, like useless points, or
Yeah.
not that like useful points. Like for example, like playing video games for hours, like, and it happens a lot. Like a lot of families feel that, yeah, that like the kid did like well and the school and he's in
Yeah.
vacation, so it's okay for him
Yes.
to waste their time for 6 hours and stuff. And this is totally not actually the best thing to do, if I can say so. As a
Yeah.
parent, I need to make sure that I totally guide my kid, and I give him the necessary or the needed guidance so he can
Yeah.
get to make the best use out of his time. And
Yeah.
also, as a parent, I need to do this because, like, my children and my family are not going to actually, invest their times well in a very good situations or a very good, like, points if I'm not doing so. So this is actually the first advice from you, Imam Hussein,
Yes.
to all the families that you reminded us of the very valuable hadith of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If you can actually repeat this hadith, so we'll make sure that we totally actually get the point.
Yeah. The hadith states that on the day of judgment, each and every individual will not be able to move even one foot unless they are asked about four questions. And the Prophet ﷺ mentions two of them that are related to time. So one of them is about one's whole lifetime in this world. And another one is in particular concerning one's youth. So you see here, so another question is about one's wealth, how they gained it and how they spend it. But what is magnificent here and what is striking here is the fact that two of these questions pertain to time. One's whole lifetime and another one specifically about one's youth.
Mm,
So, as you mentioned, as parents, we need to provide role models as to how we utilize our times. So, this is definitely very important when it comes to effective parenting. That me, myself, as a parent, I need to provide an example. I need to
mm,
be a role model for my kids as to how I utilize my time. This is why it's very vital to sleep early. And of course, there are many medical studies that highlight the importance of going to sleep early and waking up early as well, and
yeah,
particularly when it's Fajr time, and to start one's day so early on Fajr by praying Fajr and then reading the Quran and then starting one's work. This is very vital and this is very powerful, and it's very very common among all the Muslim scholars who left behind many seminal works and many scholastic works. They all have the habit of starting their day after the Fajr prayer. So you find in almost all the biographies of the Muslim scholars that they were accustomed to sleeping after Isha and praying the night prayer. Then they can woke up for the night prayer or the tahajjud prayer. Then they sleep again in order to be able to wake up for the Fajr prayer, and then they start their days. And this is why, for example, you find the great Imams of Islam, they would even start teaching their students after the Fajr, so that because they know that this is a time of the most productivity for the mind. This is
yeah,
time when they are able to understand, to grasp, to process knowledge, and this is very vital. And I can say this also from a personal experience, and I'm sure it
Yeah,
would be the
please.
same with you, Sheikh Muhammad, that when you have subjects that you need to study, it's very vital to sleep early and to wake up for Fajr prayer and then start with the Noble Quran and then study the subjects that you find or that you think need more attention and more focus. And this is why it's very important. Not I'm really highlighting this point because it's very vital, because it's very important to be aware of the language that we use when it comes to the subjects that the knowledge seeker or the student studies. And this is something very important for the parents to be aware of and to guide their children when it comes to this point. There
Yeah.
is nothing called a hard subject.
Mm,
There is nothing called a difficult subject. This is relative, and there is nothing tangible or measurable when it comes to saying hard or difficult. Difficult. Rather, any subject can be studied. Rather, it's a matter of what needs to be more focused on, what needs more attention. So this is what we
yeah.
can do in order.
As I was about to relate to this point, as you know, for some people they are not that good with physics,
Mm,
maybe because they're not that logically smart, for example. So that's why they just feel that physics and mathematics and all these points are kind of hard for them. But as I said, it's all about investment. If I invested like maybe time and effort, things
yeah,
are gonna get easier. Yeah, that's the point you're talking about.
yeah, and this is
Yeah,
what
so
I
I
like.
totally agree on this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
that whenever you invest time and effort on one of the subjects, things are gonna get way much better. But we all agree that some
definitely
subjects
it
are
will
super
pay
hard,
off.
like
So this is a very important because
for some
important
students.
point, because it's very important to relate this webinar to the previous ones,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
the ones during which we spoke about the etiquettes of the knowledge seeker and the noble manners of seeking knowledge from an Islamic perspective. So we have mentioned already that one of the most vital manners of the knowledge seeker is to be keen on utilizing their time wisely and rationalizing the usage of their time and to invest in every iota of a second of one's time. Every shred of second is to be invested in, because we
Hmm.
already mentioned that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold us accountable for all the time that we had in this life. With that being said, so we can start with the Fajr prayer, then reading the Quran, and then studying the subject that we find to be more demanding when it comes to attention and focus. And with this, inshallah, it will be very easy and very accessible and very doable to understand all the material and to understand any questions and to be able to answer any questions that pertain to this subject. So this is a very vital rule, and we understand this from the traditions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Alayhi
as he
salatu
has
wassalam.
mentioned that this is the time that is most blessed for the human being, and that's after Fajr prayer.
Yeah,
And as I mentioned, like we find this to be a common theme among all Muslim scholars in all their biographies. We see that how is it they were keen to start studying and sharing knowledge right after the Fajr prayer and after reading the Noble Quran or reciting the Noble Quran. So this is a very vital and powerful tool and strategy to do best in one's studies.
yeah. So they're super early birds.
This is very
Like,
vital.
yeah, like they just like start everything in the very morning.
Yes.
That's why they harvest a really good harvest at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And for sure, like let's not forget to mention that for some other like people actually they do not feel that they're really good with early things, and like some of them are kind of, kind of love the night. They feel that they're a little bit
Mhm.
more productive during the night. They're night owls, if we can say.
Yeah,
But yeah, like
what you mean.
majority of the people actually love this time. So if we can summarize this point, pick the time that you feel that you're super productive in, and make sure you invest it very well, right?
This is definitely very important, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
okay.
so this is why, as I mentioned, Sheikh Muhammad, we find the Noble Quran repeatedly highlighting the importance of time, and this is why we have an entire chapter in the Noble Quran named after time, and this is the chapter or Surah Al Asr. It is very powerful in this regard, even though the chapter is very brief, but it is very powerful as guidance, as a source of guidance to every human being. And we can see how clearly it starts by highlighting and underscoring the importance of time. And this is why it starts with wal asr. So here it is like by al asr, and you
Hmm.
understand and from the writings of the scholars of exegesis or the scholars of the interpretation of the noble Quran that the meaning of the word al-asr here can provide more than one understanding, and strikingly all of them pertain to time. So al-asr can mean time in general. This is one of the meanings of al-asr. In addition to this, al-Asr can mean the time of the Asr prayer.
Yeah.
Furthermore,
So like I was about to ask you to translate the meaning of the word asr to our
yeah,
dear viewers. Yeah.
so
You mean al-asr time, not asr prayer itself, right?
so it can be both. It can mean both. So
Yeah.
it is open to all of these understandings. And this
Yeah.
is one of the striking facts about this chapter. When it comes to the wording and the phraseology of this chapter, how is it the word al-asr can provide more than one meaning, and all of them pertain to the meaning or the concept of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is what is really powerful about the verse here, that it strikes the attention of the human being by drawing it to the significance of time. And let's think about this when it comes to the day-to-day life of many individuals. It is very sad to find out that among uh, some young people, it is very common to hear uh, the statement, "Let's kill some time." You see,
Yeah.
maybe
Let's
it
kill
is.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we hear it even in some movies and in some soap operas. So it is very vital to think about all of this, not to take this lightly, because it has an impact on one's conscious and one's attitude. Actually, no time will be killed. Rather, what will be killed is the individual who is wasting their time.
Hmm.
It's a very important point to understand and to make it clear to the minds of our children, because time means life. Wasting time means wasting one's life.
Hmm.
So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts this chapter by saying wal asr. Then the next verse states innal insana lafi khusr. That's indeed the human being is in loss.
Hmm.
Then the following verse comes by clarifying that except for those إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, except for those who believe and do good deeds.
Hmm.
And then The chapter specifies very vital forms of good deeds, and that's by saying وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. That's by enjoining and recommending that which is good, that which is truthful,
Hmm.
and by enjoining patience. We need to really think about this, especially in this time of the coronavirus uh,
Yeah, yeah, I
pandemic.
was about to relate to this for real.
Exactly, because many people, given the fact that in many parts of the world, people are experiencing a lockdown, so they feel that they have so much time, and as I mentioned before, they just don't want what to do with all of this time, and the idea of let's kill some time
Yeah,
really need to take a pause here in order to think and reflect beyond what we normally think about.
yeah,
That we need to see this as an opportunity to better invest in our time and in our lifetimes.
hmm,
This is an unprecedented opportunity. So, this is why each and every individual needs to be keen to utilize this time very effectively and very efficiently. So,
yeah,
look here how the verse comes as if it is an individual that is holding each and every human being and shaking them by stating, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ.
hmm,
By time, you are in a state of loss. So, this is why we need to be awakened by such call.
yeah,
How is it? This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us in a definitive way that the human being is in a state of loss.
yeah,
So then the question definitely comes, so what is the road? What is the way to success? Then the verse comes, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Except for those. So the ones who are not in loss, they are the ones who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
yeah,
and they do good deeds. So this is the principle way or the principal way to being saved from loss. And that's by believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means seeking the truth, being reflective, being investigative, being a seeker, a sincere seeker of the truth.
yeah,
Not only just to believe, in addition
yeah.
to that, we
Because
are
believing
required,
itself doesn't really, yeah,
it is only the key or the stepping stone, uh, if I may say, to doing good deeds. Then the chapter concludes with two forms of good deeds that constitute a sure way to saving the human being and the entire human global family
hmm,
from being in a state of loss. And
yeah,
that's by enjoining that which is good, that which is right. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. So in addition to believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing good deeds, they are not only self-centered, they are not only concerned about themselves, rather they enjoy that which is good.
yeah,
So they are always keen to spread and to create and to cultivate an atmosphere that encourages everyone to find the truth and to do what is good and to do what is right.
yeah.
In addition to وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and they enjoin and they
Absolutely.
remind each other of the importance of perseverance and being patient. And this is very important when we think about it when it comes to providing the necessary support to maintain a healthy well being, and in particular when it comes to one's mental well being, especially in times like ours.
Hmm,
Many people say, I am on the verge of collapse. I feel depressed. So this is why, especially given these technologies nowadays, as
Yeah,
families,
yeah.
we need to support one another. We need to make sure that we utilize all these technologies and we utilize the time that we have wisely and in productive things.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I just like feel that I got like really, really affected by the ayat that like ayat that you mentioned والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات
Yes.
وتواصوا بالحق
Yes.
وتواصوا بالصبر. Um, yeah. So, Imam Hussein, I believe that there are like hundreds of things that we can like mention whenever it comes to time that are actually in the Quran. But what about the Sunnah? What about like the legislative like source, if we can say,
Yeah.
our Sunnah, the life of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If you can relate like some of the situations or hadith
Mm.
that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam actually
Yes.
said before
Mm.
to our topic today, like
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be super thankful.
Yeah, definitely, it's very important to look into the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ when it comes to the importance of time and utilizing and spending one's time wisely and rationally and investing in one's time in a productive way. For instance, we read in Sahih al-Bukhari the statement in which the Prophet ﷺ says, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس.
Hmm.
That there are two blessings or there are two bounties that so many people are negligent of, or they don't really utilize, or they don't take advantage of them. And the Prophet ﷺ mentions
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
and he clarifies what are these two blessings, and he says, الصحة والفراغ.
Yeah.
That's being healthy, being sound, and having plenty of time.
Hmm.
So the Prophet ﷺ rings the bell that these are two blessings that many people are not taking seriously. So this is a clear guidance and clear instruction from the Prophet ﷺ to utilize one's time and one's physical ability when they are able to be productive. And
Yeah.
this is why in another hadith that is narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the Prophet ﷺ said, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس.
Yeah.
That utilize and take advantage or get the best of five before five. And here, Sheikh Muhammad, I'd like to focus on the idea of اغتنم. How is it the Prophet ﷺ uses the verb اغتنم as if
Yeah.
it's something very valuable. Like in the Arabic language, when the verb اغتنم is used, it is to indicate that it is priceless. It
Yes.
is
Like
so valuable to be neglected. It is too important to be taken lightly. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ says, اغتنم
yeah,
خمسة
it's even
قبل خمس.
derived from the word ghanima in Arabic, which is
Yeah,
like the very like valuable and the
yeah,
precious
which is something
thing.
that is won or something that is deserved after a long and so uh, time consuming demand and quest. So this is when it
Yeah.
comes to يغتنم. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ says اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس.
Yeah.
That take
Alayhi salatu
advantage
wassalam.
and get the best of out of five before five. He goes on ﷺ to say حياتك قبل موتك. That's your life before your death.
Hmm.
وصحتك قبل سقمك. That's your health before your illness.
Yes.
وفراغك قبل شغلك. That's having time before being busy.
Hmm.
وشبابك قبل هرمك. That's your youth before becoming old.
Hmm.
وغناك قبل فقرك. And that's having money or having wealth or having the resources before you run out of them. So this is a very powerful advice
Yeah.
from Prophet ﷺ to utilize all of these sources. And you see how is it? Four of them are related to time. So it is with such understanding we better appreciate the statements and the guidance of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ as far as one's time and one's life are concerned.
Yeah, I just feel like the very same feeling that, subhanallah, like how powerful our religion is, and subhanallah, like the support that the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam all the time give to us. Like he doesn't just like tell us how to worship Allah only, but he also tells us how to live on earth in the best way ever. Like, what should
Yes,
I do?
in
That
a
one,
productive
that
way.
one, and that one. Yeah.
Exactly.
SubhanAllah, the Prophet even himself was like super productive.
Mhm.
And even the Sahaba, all of them actually made the best use out of the time, and they did a lot. And SubhanAllah, their day was only like 24 hours, and SubhanAllah, they did a lot of things. For me personally, like sometimes I feel that I'm stuffed with work and stuffed with like a lot of things to do, that I wish sometimes, why don't we have extra hours for the day so we can actually make the best use out of it? And
This
so
is very,
sometimes, yeah,
very interesting to mention, Sheikh Muhammad, because when we read the biographies of some of the Muslim scholars, we exactly find the point that you have just highlighted. For example, when one of them is asked, "Why don't you join us in order to spend some time, in order to have nice time with us?" You know what would be the answer from the Muslim scholar? They would say, hold the sun from rising, and I will come with you.
whoa,
You
whoa,
see, like saying nowadays, hold the clock from moving on, and I will come with you, or stop the clock from moving on, and then I will be able to come with you.
yeah,
Indicating
like
how, yeah,
freeze the time, gonna
exactly.
join you, then gonna come back again so we can let the time run again.
Yeah,
Yeah, like we have a lot of like things like this. I mean, like maybe you just like do like
yeah,
maybe super important things,
yes,
then maybe you use your mobile phone, then you get this notification of somebody actually who commented on something, then you
yeah,
just like waste a lot of things. Or maybe one of your friends, he called you, how are you doing? I'd like you to do one, two, three.
yeah,
But and instead of just like talking about the one, two, 3 points,
yeah.
we just actually keep wasting time by uh, not
Yeah,
let's
you see
like
what you,
actually replace wasting with
yeah,
not invest
and it is
time
for
in the
this,
best
it
investment
is
ever.
for this also, Sheikh Muhammad.
Yeah, please.
We find in the literature of the Muslim scholars when it comes to their approach to time, when one of them would pass by a group of people who are just wasting their times, you know what one of them would say? And you find
Yeah.
this repeatedly said by many Muslim scholars. They say, we wish that it was possible to buy the
The
time
time.
of those who
Yeah.
just waste their times.
Hmm.
You see, they wish
Yeah.
that with money they can buy extra time from those who just waste their times. They wanted so much and they were so ready even to spend all the money that they have in their possession in order to get more money so that they can achieve more. So this
Yeah.
is why a very important point to keep in mind is to be cautious against time wasters. And uh, people who are just chitty chat. This is
Yeah.
very vital. Definitely, we need to be polite and we need to be mindful not to hurt anyone's feelings, but also we need to be careful when it comes people's way of how they affect our time schedule and our time table. And each and every one of us, we need to be a role model and a reminder, if you like, for others to take care of how they spend their times. This is why it's very important to speak of. I'm sure I know that we are running out of time,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so maybe it's very useful for our dear viewers and listeners to share with them some effective strategies as to how to best utilize one's time, especially when we look into still the approach of the Muslim scholars when it comes to spending their time. How is it? As I mentioned earlier, they were ready to spend all what they have in order to get more money. This is why, uh,
You mean like in order to get more time?
exactly, and
Yeah.
thus be more productive or be more in a position to do what needs to be done.
SubhanAllah reminded me of this point that
Yeah,
like if like this metaphor we can say if somebody actually gave you this Visa card, it has 86 for
yeah,
86,400 like dollars, for example, and you have this Visa card and
yeah,
or like credit card, and you're okay to buy things using
yes,
this money. But guess what? At the end of the day, this money is gonna disappear. Like
yes,
if we actually deal with time the very same way we deal with money, things are gonna get better. And subhanallah, like let's say that we're traveling, for example, somewhere like to have fun or something, or to enjoy, or to just or just like doing this for 3 days or something. So we're gonna have a pre-schedule like program
yeah,
for the day. Like today we're gonna do one, two, three. Why? Because we don't want to lose time.
mhm,
We don't want the time to fly. We want to make use out of every single minute we are in this place. So
yeah,
right now, Imam Hussein, we're gonna tell us some you know like life. I'm gonna say you're gonna tell us some tricks on how to manage our time well, right?
yeah, definitely. It
Please.
is very beautiful and it is very important to employ strategies in order to utilize one's time efficiently and effectively. This is why the very first point to keep in mind is the importance of having goals, the importance of having clear, well specified, and written, I repeat, written goals and objectives. So, as an individual, as a Muslim, it is very important to have a goal in my life, to have a number of goals on my life. And definitely, we know that there are different spheres or different aspects of one's life. So I need to
Yeah.
have objectives and clearly defined and well written and smart goals and objectives. And what I mean by smart here is the effective strategy of having smart goals. That's by having specific, because smart here is used as an acronym.
Yeah. Yeah.
So SMART means or refers to or stands for specific goals. The M, uh, they
Measurable.
have to be measurable. The A stands for being accurate. R, realistic, and the T, time managed or time specified. So it is very important to have smart goals in one's life. In addition to having life goals and life objectives, it is very vital to have annual objectives and annual goals. In addition to having monthly ones, weekly ones as well, and of course, daily ones. Because many of our students, and I'm sure you have experienced this, Sheikh Muhammad, that you would give certain recommendations to the student in order to carry out or in order to fulfill, and then the next class comes and they are not done with it, or they haven't done anything
Yeah,
at
it
all.
happens.
So it is very important to bring this to the attention of our students and as parents to our children and to our kids that they need to learn how to have a clear, well defined, and written to do list. There needs to be clear to do lists, and by the end of the day, before going to sleep, to check this list. And it is very important to cultivate this sense of self accountability. I repeat, it is very vital to cultivate and to develop this sense of self accountability that
Yeah.
each and every individual, and we need to also teach this and to share this with our children as parents, that they need to have a to-do list every day, and by the end of the day check this list, and
Mm,
then recall what happened, and then make decisions. Yeah, I did this well because I did this, then I need to keep doing this, and this becomes a habit. And then to look critically, yeah, I was not able to achieve this goal or these goals because this and this happened, so I need to avoid this in order not for this to happen again.
yeah.
That this is a sure way of sustainable self improvement and self development.
Mm,
So this is very vital to keep in mind, and of course to be careful when it comes to time wasters. This is why you find that uh, smart people, they always use all the technologies like the apps on the phone to
yeah,
to
yeah.
manage their times. And alhamdulillah, thanks to God, this is available now. You have applications and you have programs that help this.
Yeah,
That
even in your mobile phone, you do not need to
exactly,
use the laptop or the
exactly.
computer all the
So
time. Yeah,
it is very important to have reminders, what to do at what time exactly, and a very vital strategy to use, Sheikh Muhammad, and of course, I'm sure you agree with me on this, is to use the five daily prayers
yeah,
as
sure,
indicators.
sure.
This is very vital, like to dedicate the time from Fajr to Dhuhr to achieving this, then for Dhuhr to Asr for doing this, and so on and so forth. And let me share with you here and all our dear viewers a personal experience in this regard when it comes to using the time of the prayer. I mean, the time of each of the five daily prayers as indicators of planning the day. I will mention one that has to do with high school, and of course, you are also a graduate of Al Azhar, Sheikh Muhammad, and you
Yeah,
know what it's like to be at high school at Al Azhar. And of course, this is a reminder because now we know many students are also having their exams. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help
Allahumma ameen.
all of them and make things easy for them and to protect all of them. And
Yeah,
I will
Allahumma
mention
ameen.
another personal experience when I was at uh, the university. A very important subject, I'm sure you remember it, Sheikh Muhammad, is sarf or
Yeah, صرف.
morphology.
Yeah,
So, you know,
morphology of the Arabic
exactly,
language.
exactly. So it is very
A
challenging,
lot of information, a lot of
exactly,
like,
and
but it's nice.
very detailed pieces of information because it
Hmm.
has to do with the structure of the word and the etymology of the word. So what I used to do is what? Every day, only between Maghrib and the Isha, I would study only maximum one page of Sarf or morphology, but on a daily basis. I
Hmm.
dedicate the time. So I pray Maghrib, the Sunnah, then all the way to Isha, this time is for studying Sarf.
Hmm.
So on a daily basis. So imagine, Alhamdulillah, what was the result? I got 40 out of 40 in Sarf when I
Wow,
was the
mashallah,
third year of high school.
mashallah.
So you see the importance of planning one's time and we have the five daily prayers as indicators or as
Mhm.
controllers and regulations, if I may put it this way, to effectively manage one's time during the day. I did the same when I was at studying German at the university.
Mhm.
So you know that we do our studies because I spent a year at the Faculty of Language and Translation before moving to the Faculty of Sharia and Law English. So I was studying German, and you know all the courses and all the modules are in English except for the one module that's the German language. So it is very
Yeah.
challenging, and
Yeah.
we haven't, as you know, we haven't studied it before. So I did the same with German. So each day from Maghrib to Isha, I study German. So, Alhamdulillah, as a result, I got excellent in the German language.
SubhanAllah,
So,
I have almost the very same experience that
yes,
I dedicate my Maghrib to Isha time, where I
yes,
used to dedicate that one just for revising specific surahs, and every day I challenge myself
yes,
how many surahs am I going to revise or how many surahs I'm gonna finish. Like
yeah,
today I did that, and tomorrow, what about tomorrow? How many things am I going to do?
yes,
SubhanAllah, I got the very same wonderful results at the end of the day. So SubhanAllah, it's like super powerful, and I'm
yes.
glad that you're using that too.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
a very powerful strategy and an effective time management tool. Again, to use the five daily prayers as regulators for managing one's time throughout the day and the night.
yeah.
This way, we can be more productive, and this is what each and every individual needs to be careful and mindful of.
Yes. Uh, so like that's like a really fruitful conversation for real. For real, I enjoyed a lot, and what I really like that subhanAllah made that super practical. So if you can allow me to like summarize some of the points that you
Definitely,
said
yes.
about
Yeah.
making or about like taking this point seriously. Yeah, for sure. In the very beginning, we mentioned how important it is for a Muslim to take care of the time. We mentioned ayat. We mentioned some like portions of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Also the scholars and the pious people actually tried to invest every single second for the sake of Allah and for the sake of like acquiring knowledge and stuff.
Yes.
So there are some points you mentioned today, Sheikh Hossein. So if you did them, things are gonna get better. Like they're a little bit more practical. Like for example, setting smart goals.
Yes.
So we're gonna be able to like apply them all. Having a plan for the day. So before the day starts, you must have a plan. So it's gonna be easy for you to measure that. Also remembering like how like our like how the previous Sahaba and scholars actually used to invest their time or how they used to live their time so we can get to imitate them and we have this reminder, remember the Sahaba did this, so I need to do that too as a way of motivation. Also talked about like you know dedicating time for like dedicating this time, this period of time to a specific thingy. It doesn't really matter if you use the hours to dedicate this time or use the prayers, the five prayers from this prayer into this prayer. I'm doing that thingy. Both of them actually really work. And you even mentioned like one of your personal experience. Also, one of the points is yeah, like personally, I do that I'd like to add actually before we get to finish online our live webinar, which is like Pomodoro technique. This is one of the techniques. I love it so much, which
Mhm.
is like I dedicate 25 minutes of active work, then
Yeah.
5 minutes break, then 25 minutes of active work, then 5 minutes break and stuff. There are a lot of applications on the mobile phone that I even use whenever I get to like focus on something. Um, Yeah, so Imam Hussein, like I got to the point that I do not really like, which is ending this conversation. So I'd like to thank you very much for these information that you mentioned today. I'd like to thank all of our dear viewers for following this live streaming that happens every single Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, dear viewers. Thank you, dear families, for like investing time and effort, for getting to be like better Muslims. Every single parent who attended or who followed our our live stream today, we thank you so much because you really do a lot for your family. May Allah reward you for this. And for those people who didn't really get to follow our like today's discussion, you can actually watch this on our YouTube, on our Facebook page, and also you can join our Facebook group where we actually post a lot of points or a lot of info that are related to the Islamic parenting. As a parent, remember something, it all starts from you. Like, so you really need to take care of your kids, your family. So at the end of the day, inshallah, we're gonna have this beautiful and like super successful like Islamic community that we deserve to be successful, right? Inshallah. Thank you so much, Imam. Thank you, everyone. And see you, inshallah, next time. And do not forget actually to follow the page. Again, if you have any question, please make sure you leave this question on the comment, and inshallah, we're gonna get to answer you. If you have any like recommendation of a topic that you'd like us to add to our plan, please send us a message, and inshallah, our admins are going to uh, contact you, inshallah. That's all for today. Thank you, everyone, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام.